Hello, my friends. We continue to reveal the secrets about human body. When you know how your body, the biological machine, works, you know how to rule it and avoid accidents.
In this video, what is schizophrenia according to the new medicine? And how Dr. Hammer discovered the Enneagram's 9 personality types without even knowing about them. The originator of German New Medicine, Dr. Gerd Hammer, discovered that most psychic illnesses are also linked to conflicts. The schizophrenic or psychotic attacks are because of interplay between two or more active Hammer focuses on the right and left sides of the brain, and Dr. Hammer called it constellations.
What is Hammer focus?
As you know from the first biological law, the Hammer focus, it's a circular disc in the brain, which is formed in the brain from the moment the conflict, fear disease starts and is eliminated after the person resolves the conflict. The location of Hammer focus in the brain provides information about what conflict has happened and which organ is affected. Furthermore, the appearance of the Hammer focus shows in which disease phase the patient is. The sharp-edged and hardly visible Hammer focus indicates that the patient has not yet resolved the conflict. The blurred and fuzzy Hammer focus in computed tomography scans indicates resolved conflict, which means that patient is healing. So, the schizophrenic or psychotic attacks occurs when there are 2 or more active Hammer focuses on the right and left sides of the brain. They interplay between and cause constellations, psychotic attacks. Constellations do not automatically cause physical illness because when the Hammer focuses come into alignment, the gathering of conflict mass stops. Some people have short psychotic attacks, some get stuck in them longer. It all depends how efficiently person solves his inner conflicts, life challenges. We are all more or less affected by constellations, even when it is not always obvious.
Do you ever regret that you did something very stupid or inappropriate? Something, what even in your worst nightmare, you wouldn't dream that. So active Hammer focus in the brain, indication of unsolved fear or very unpleasant situation, life challenge. Your brain likes to work with one at a time, not with a bunch of them. Accept your life challenge and beat your fear as soon as you can. Your brains is not a shelter for criminals.
Your brains is a computer. It stops working when too many windows are open. And what is Enneagram? And how I saw Enneagram in constellations.
What is Enneagram and how they correlate with constellations? Constellations. Its Hammer focuses on the different side of the brains, which alignment cause schizophrenic or psychotic attacks. The Enneagram. Its 9 personality type scheme, which indicates your innate potential, dominant talent, and dominant fear. Each one, we are born with one of the 9 potentials dominant. And there are 3 levels of development.
Healthy, average, unhealthy.
Living up to innate potential, heart, true self, leads to integration, healthy level. A life of through self-denial leads to disintegration and healthy level.
Our innate dominant fear dictate which constellation we tend to fall into when we disintegrate.
The reformer, fears of being bad, corrupt, evil, defective. The helper, fears of being unworthy of being loved. The achiever, fears of being worthless or without inherent value. The artist, fears of being without identity or personal significance. The investigator, fears of being useless, incapable, or incompetent. The loyalist, fears of being without support or guidance. The adventurer, fears of being deprived or trapped in pain. The leader, fears of being harmed or controlled by others. And the peacemaker, fears of loss of connection, of fragmentation.
Constellations. Overview.
And which Enneagram are tend to fall into. Constellation of the brainstem. Known as confusion, bewilderment, Alzheimer, vegetative state. Conflict, Huchung conflicts left and right brainstem, one of the conflicts usually kidney collecting tubules. Frozen, spatially, temporary disoriented, and reactive, persisting, apathetic, lethargic, forgetful, inability of making decisions. Nature logic, it is better to wait quietly, to get through the bad times, energy saving. Most characteristic for Enneagram mind disintegration. Constellation of the cerebellum. Known as emotionally like dead, burned out, asocial, or overly social. Conflict, attack, worries, quarrel conflicts on the left and right cerebellum, usually one of the conflicts, a dermis conflicts. Listless, empty and cold, one feels nothing, aloof, inaccessible, emotionally blunted and encapsulated, inclination to unconventional or crazy acts. Nature logic, asocial, self-protection from becoming further burned out, overly social, one gives it all to be accepted back into community or tribe. Mostly Enneagram 7 disintegration. Constellation of the cerebral white matter. Known as delusions of grandeur, megalomania. Self-esteem conflict, cerebral white matter, left and right. The kind of megalomania depends on the conflict topic, knee physical megalomania, testicular ovarian, potency sex megalomania, heart muscle, helper syndrome, cervical spine, I am the smartest mania. Nature logic, the individual's self-esteem has been destroyed. By believing in his greatness, he gains courage and pulls himself up out of the mud. Mostly the Enneagram 8 and Enneagram 2 disintegrations.
Constellations of the cerebral cortex.
Most common ones. Autistic constellation, seclusion, introversion, autism. Conflict, shock, fright, or speechlessness conflict, plus territorial anger conflict. Depressive emphasized, little contact with the environment, brooding, loner, apathetic staring into space, extremely engrossed in work. Nature logic, hard-working, stays tuned to the end, an important task in the pack. Very clear Enneagram 5, and not necessary disintegration, might be temporary focus for a task. Occipital constellation, paranoia, hallucinations. Fear from behind conflict. And founded fears. One suspects behind everything is ruse or conspiracy, always careful and suspicious, sometimes clairvoyant, hunches. Nature logic, protection from further harm, through caution and premonitions. Very clear Enneagram 6 disintegration. Bioaggressive constellation, aggression, mania, running amok. Identity and territorial anger conflict. Great thirst, high energy, athletic, especially martial arts, easily provoked, violent, thoughts of revenge. Very clear. Enneagram 8 disintegration. Despondency, depression, very sensitive person. Conflict, become despondent as soon as the conflict strikes. Lack of motivation, listlessness, one cannot look forward to anything enjoyable, sensitive person, shyness or introversion. Very clear, Enneagram 4, disintegration. This type likes to discover their pain and dramas, just they tend to stay there for too long. Obsessive constellation, compulsive actions. Conflict, fear discuss conflict, and sensory conflict. Compulsiveness, washing, cleanliness, order, touch and etc. Mostly, Enneagram 1, disintegration. Anorexia constellation, loss of appetite. Conflict, any left cerebral territorial conflict, and territorial anger conflict. Mostly common, for Enneagram 1 and Enneagram 4. Bulimic constellation, bulimia addiction. Fear, disgust conflict, and territorial anger conflict in persistent repair. Most common, also for Enneagram 4 and Enneagram 1. Loss of intellectual capacity, dementia. Chronic, active or recurring separation conflict, little self-love, the longing for love, having lost contact with own feelings and joy of life. Example, loss of life partner, has to go to nursing home. Very common for Enneagram 2, because helpers are relations type and has difficulties being alone. Nympho, and Casanova constellation, which comes together with compulsive stealing, kleptomania. female loss of territory conflict and male loss of territory conflict. Chasing men or women, but not capable of a relationship, frigid. Very clear Enneagram 3 disintegration. Disintegrated achiever, totally lost his contact with the feelings. Mythomaniac constellation, compulsive exaggeration, extroversion. Identity conflict and territorial fear conflict. Talks a lot, good mood, funny. Very clear Enneagram 7 disintegration. What is important here? Not to mix healthy 7 with disintegrated. Healthy 7s are happy and funny. That's their mission. Just when they disintegrate, they start to do it too much, in wrong times, wrong places.
We are all one of the Enneagram and disintegrate sometimes. Our mission is to beat the challenges and don't get stuck in fears for too long.
Hello, my friends. Hey, my friends. We continue the journey. Hello, my friends. We continue to reveal the secrets about human's body. Solve your traumas and inner conflicts and put yourself first.
Schizophrenia. Enneagram 7, mythomaniac.